Hello again, Luke Bugg, the Geek of Steel here, and today I have the great honour of interviewing Liam O'Donnell, writer and director. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Or it's good morning for me, but
Oh,
thank you for
yes.
having me.
Yeah, bit of a time difference again, but no, that is the power of Zoom in this very eventful year. We have the power of the internet to keep us connected, which is lovely. So, we're here today for you to talk to me about your brand new movie, Skylines. Please, in your own words, explain to me and the listeners what we can expect from this movie.
Okay, so Skylines is part three in kind of a very unlikely franchise that started 10 years ago with the alien invasion film Skyline. 3 years ago, the sequel came out, Beyond Skyline, which was a more action-orientated approach that kind of took the story from one apartment to the entire world, and even further into time, into a space battle at the very end. So that very last bit of Beyond Skyline is where part three jumps off of, and we're in a full-on post-apocalyptic future setting where humans and hybrid aliens now live on Earth together. But unfortunately, the hybrid aliens, there's a strange new virus going around, which creating a pandemic. And in order to combat this, our heroes have to go on a very dangerous mission to the aliens' homeworld known as Cobalt One, to try to save what's left of humanity and the aliens themselves.
Yeah, saw some quite stressing images of London in the beginning of the film. I don't think I've ever seen it like that before. I was there last week, and yeah, it was quite surreal to see it, but it looked eerily very well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of the stuff is shot from we shot the movie in Vilnius, Lithuania, and so a lot of the stuff that we did on our back lot, we kind of changed that for the park outside of London, and we have London kind of on the skyline. Of course, the philosophy is that 15 years with a lot less humans, there's been more overgrowth and decay, and then we had a bunch of cool, overhead drone photography and then some really great VFX companies both from London and Germany work on that.
Yeah, there was obviously a lot of, as you said, CGI imagery. But what I really was intrigued by was did you use an actual bunker for some of those scenes?
Yes, the
I
the
I
exterior of the bunker is. I actually just posted that on my Instagram. That bunker was built in the Cold War, and it's outside of Vilnius, Lithuania. It was one of the more eerie scouts I've ever been on. They open the bunker and like you're hit with this dead cold air, and we're walking around, and it's a beautiful interior set. So there's a bit of a temptation in my mind to like, should we film some interior stuff in here? But I just had like existential dread, to be honest with you. It kind of fills you with this bad feeling that like, and they were like, yeah, this was like $18 million, I want to think, back in 1986 or something. And you're like, wow, we really were like so close to just nuking the world to shit. And so we ended up using the exterior and getting them in, and then we used different locations for the interior of the bunker. But it was quite a impressive, location.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be quite eerie to think to be in those situations and think what conversations happened here and sort of
Yes.
how
And it was
close did we
it was a
get?
media studio apparently. It was there so that they could keep broadcasting like propaganda and news after a nuclear, war. So it's
Okay.
like,
Yeah,
oh.
it's very Fallout. Yeah, I'm not too keen on that. That's just getting a little bit too close to comfort there.
Yeah, I
Um,
was like the picture is me as like I'm standing inside and I'm looking around. I'm like, I just want to go back outside. Like I just didn't want to live in a bunker.
that's it. I'd be scared of the door just getting shut and just worst case scenario, we've only got like 10 cans of peaches to last us for however long we're going to be down here for.
Right.
I've watched the film, thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean,
Like,
I'm coming back to watch the first two. I've not seen the original ones, but now I've seen this, I am intrigued more to find out where this story came from. But I instantly became attached to the characters, both the good and the bad, and it was just a good old fun time. Lots of fighting, lots of
yes.
great sort of hand on hand combat, kicks and weapons. And how did you tackle this film yourself? How did you make this one your own?
Um, yeah, like each one is kind of a reaction to the last one in a lot of ways. And I wrote direct the second one, but learned a lot and learned in a lot of ways. I felt like the action scenes were really, really fun to do, but almost too long. And sometimes they kind of weren't advancing the story enough. And so that was a real kind of, something that I wanted to really hit on the third, is to kind of make each action scene a little bit more character orientated, character driven, and to kind of have more variety, because, it's not low budget, but it's definitely not big budget. It's a limited budget obviously for the actual script, for the scope of the story. It's a low budget. And so you kind of have to pick and choose your spots. And I wanted to have a lot of variety in the action scenes. So it was really about kind of like finding that nice length, and so that we could get in and have really elaborate choreography and have like big popping moments, but then they're not going to be these like 10-minute long action scenes that you get in kind of the modern blockbuster. So it's a lot more poppy and
it was a good balance. You had plenty of action, plenty of story. There was even quite a lot of emotion there to it. I mean, it's tricky to find those sensitive moments in a film where you're dealing with aliens and hybrids and God knows what else.
I think that's a tribute to the cast, really. I think Lindsay especially, she can convey a lot of emotion with just her eyes, and she's a very physical actor. She has a really great presence, and so she's kind of always bringing the audience along and letting them know, where she is emotionally in each scene. And the real kind of heart of it is her and her brother, who happens to be, an 8-foot tall man in a suit alien. And so their relationship is what, grounds the film, I think, emotionally, and pulls you in and makes you, the fact that they love each other makes you kind of care and love about them. So
it was brilliant. I mean, obviously he doesn't speak in English, as it were, but the subtitles for each scene where they were together, it was just, you can tell they're brother and sister, with her eye rolls and his grunts. It was just, I had the same sort of relationship with my sister, so I was definitely the hybrid in that situation. But she did a fantastic job, and I felt every single eye roll that she gave. She's very good about that.
Yeah, they were good about like playing with each other. Like even the thing where he threw something at her when she first walked into the door, that was like a little frog that was on the desk, and I was like, are people even gonna know what that is? But it didn't really. I didn't need to get an insert of it. It just kind of tracked that he's like tossing some shit at her as she walks in the door. And she and the suit actor Jeremy Fitzgerald, who plays Trent, they had a really great rapport, and they worked at it. And she brought in some ad libs, like, at the end when he grabs her hand in that scene and she's like, why are they always wet? I never would have thought of that line in a million years, but I thought it was such a great, where we have the emotion, but now like, you have to make a joke, the fact that he's got these big, nasty, slimy alien claws holding your hand. Like, we have to call attention to it. So I thought it was a nice balance and that she brought to that scene.
It was, sort of her just walking into his bedroom, as it were. He was like, get out of my room, sister. Even though you're back and it's nice to see you, this is my domain. Get out.
Exactly.
What was one of your, there's a lot of scenes in there. What was one of your favourite ones?
That one's one of them. Actually, I think just because the second movie is like, in the first one too, they're both like invasion movies. So it's really hard to have any scenes that aren't about the actual event of the day, because it's like, when something that catastrophic and traumatic happens, you're not talking about anything else. So that was really tricky on the first two movies, that to try to talk about characters and backstories or any other thing. So I really enjoyed some of the quieter scenes in this movie. I really enjoyed the scene with Jonathan Howard and Lindsay in the pod that they're in the ship, as they're going through the wormhole, and him talking a little bit about his past and her past, and again, kind of like calling out some of the ridiculousness of things, but also grounding it with the humanity. She's like, I was born on a spaceship, genius. It's like, so I to me, that was like coming, I have so much fun with the action. Obviously, when you get to work with like Yaya Ruin, Daniel Bernhardt, and then these great actors like James Cosmo, Alexander Siddig, and Rhoda Mitra. But it was some of those quieter scenes that like are just two actors talking, that are funny enough what like most directors start off doing, and I like hadn't really got to do it yet. So that was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, Rona was fantastic. When I saw that name in the press release, I was like, whoa, they've got Tomb Raider. I was like, that was like my generation of gaming. She modeled for Lara Croft back in the day.
And you know, like, wow. That's why we had to do it. You know, she rips that cloak off, and it was like...
I was like, okay, this is Lara Croft. She's back.
That was for you. That was for you. It was
like,
for those who know.
I think there's one part where she says, oh, just respect the science, and then just goes crazy with a couple of guns just going off. It was fantastic. Yeah, and working with James, how was that?
I mean, he was really incredible. It was such a short period of time. But everybody, like, you know, like Daniel wasn't in any scenes with him. And Daniel Bernhardt, he came to set just to watch him do the opening fireside chat. You know, like there was everyone was just kind of like hushed and reverent, like we're about to see something amazing. And same as Jonathan. Jonathan was like, I think it was maybe one of his first nights, and he has to go in and kind of like, you know, be a dickhead to James Cosmo. It was like, you know, a hero of his. So I really kind of, you know, gave him props for just kind of swaggering in there and not being intimidated, because I was intimidated, and I'm directing the scene. You know, I was like...
Gave me a few digs about his eye patch as well, and I was like, dude, you don't talk to that man that way. Have some respect. But I would just...
Yeah, we did a couple even more like crazier takes with that. I think Popeye was his line. I was like, but it made me laugh every time we cut it, so I put it in.
Yeah, I would love to be in a situation where I could sit down with him, preferably around a campfire, and just listen to his stories all night long about his acting days. So I'm quite jealous of that.
He's pretty much exactly what you want him to be. You know, like in between takes when we had the alien attacking him, he was like, you know, laying on his back with some effects on his chest, just relaxing, enjoying an American spirit with an eye patch on, and I was like, that's a legend right there.
It's just absolute legend. So, what was one of your biggest challenges making this film after the sequel rather?
You know, the biggest challenge is always just actually, you know, can you get this crazy ambitious thing into an actual shootable schedule? You know, when you're you know, making these movies, the margins are so thin, you know, for the budget. And then so the schedule was fairly unrealistic at points, and we found a way though. And one of the really, you know, we had a great first AD, we had a great crew in general, but my DP Alain Duplantier is a French DP. He made the shooting within Cobalt really, really efficient, you know, because he had sky panels up over the whole stage, and so he could change colors, change the sun direction, and I'd never really had that resource before, so that kind of was like a big breakthrough. Obviously, just I think shooting a lot on stages compared to a lot of locations last time helped a lot, helped with the schedule, helped with the efficiency, and helped with us like always maintaining a consistent look. Because there is a lot of colored lights. It's a more colorful movie than anything I've done before. But I really like that. It was like, you know, it was more French. So Alain would be like, he would be making things dark and moody, and like I'm like, stop making it look so American. I want it to look more French. Like I've already made an American movie. You make it your own. I want to see what you do. So, you know, getting to work with these, you know, new collaborators and. Like I said, like I've been living with this franchise for like 10 years. So to me, I like have a funny relationship with how serious I take it. But when other people come in and they really take it seriously and they push it up a level, it's like, oh yeah, right, of course, yeah, that's a better idea. Let's do that. So it's very inspiring to just kind of like continually, you know, kind of have people come in and bring their A game. It makes you get better.
Yeah, and I feel everybody did. There wasn't sort of anybody that stood out more than others, but I was paying a lot more attention whenever I heard Alexander Siddig's voice, because he just brought so much sass to that role. It was fantastic.
Well, that's what's funny to me is because like I don't know, because I guess if you grow up watching, you know, Paul Verhoeven movies, and you grow up watching, you know, James Cameron movies and John McTiernan and John Carpenter, like you get clued into the vibe of this movie, I think, kind of early on. And so there's things that like I don't know if we're not reading them overtly as funny, but like when Alexander is kind of like going off in the second half of the movie, I was I laugh every time. I love it. I'm like cackling at the energy that he's bringing and the disgust that he has for certain people within the frame. That is like really, I would always be like he's like a directing cheat code. Like, you know, you don't need to give him notes. It's just about measures of how much you want to try a certain thing. So my one note for him would always be like, can we try it a little bit more delicious? And he's like, absolutely, absolutely. And
good
yeah,
impression
he's like
as well. That's not bad. That's good.
He's a director's, you know, like dream. He stands next to the camera, ready to go for the next take. I remember like his first day was that scene in The Office in the first act where he lays down everything for the mission to Rose. And it's like 5 pages of exposition. And he did it for like 3 hours and then, you know, asked the first AD for some tea. The first AD is another Brit. And he was like, oh, we're almost done. It's almost lunch. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Elliot. You know, like in America, if he asked for a tea, like people would just fall over to get it for him. But the 2 Brits were like, you know, don't whine. We're almost done. You'll be out here soon. I'm like, all right, let's get Alexander a tea.
I think probably that comes from obviously, you know, he did come from a stage school and he's done a lot of plays, so I think you could probably leave him alone with a script and he could just take over the whole set because some of his monologues were just fantastic. Obviously that's down to him, but part of that writing as well.
Yeah, and he would kind of like find different grooves in the writing than I would imagine because I wrote it without the movie was originally set in post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, and so it became a UK co-production when we were looking for financing, and our financiers came from the UK, and we're like, okay, can this work for London? And so then it's like, you know, now it's rewriting it for a British Radford, and then having Alexander, you know, say the words. Things morph; they become more of his own. But there's still like little like hangups that you're like, would a British guy really say "get the hell out of Dodge"? But like that's just the way I wrote it. So you know,
it worked. It worked though with him saying it. It made it more epic. I feel
he can make it. He can make anything work. Like there's no bad takes with Alexander Siddig. No bad takes.
And he did have that one quote towards the end, which I wanted to talk about, so, without spoiling it. But it was the "Now I am become death."
Yes,
destroyer of worlds. I was like, wow, that is one heck of a quote. Now that's obviously it's been used before.
It's Robert Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that hit hard with that scene as well. And I was like, dude, give me chills here.
So that was again another fun, like a little more delicious type reading. And then we set him up with that whiskey glass, you know, in the office, and it didn't come back. And we had filmed actually the reverses where he walks out already. And I was like, there's something missing with the scene. And I was like, oh, we should bring back the whiskey. And, you know, that's again, like he's just humoring me. He's like, all right, let's do it. and I really love it. I love that it's this long kind of pushing in shot to get that. And I feel like that kind of, in a way it was like, you know, when you plan in your mind that you have a vision for a plan that like, now I'm going to enjoy this thing and it's going to be part of it. But he kind of internalizes that you can see it's a hollow victory, even in the moment. It gives the character this kind of interesting complication that, you know, he thought, I feel like he feels like it's going to be this savoring moment of triumph, but he kind of feels like shit. It's not something we really get too much deeper into, but it's just one of those little nuances that a great actor can bring to it. And even in the script, one more anecdote on that was that it was just like, I am become death. It wasn't going to be the full Oppenheimer quote, but I was like, we did a take and I'm like, you want to go full Oppenheimer? And he's like, really? And so, yeah, I feel like our relationship was him just like humoring me and then making it awesome. So,
but it worked. It worked so well. He said he had a lot of fun. But I just kept imagining him sort of going back to his little cabin and having a drinks cabinet on this spaceship where he can just sit down and make his drinks for him. So it was great. But my final question for you today. Now, the film, without spoiling it too much, there was almost a cliffhanger towards the end. Are you planning a tease? So is a fourth one possibly going to be happening?
I'd love to do a fourth one. It all just really depends about, you know, the audience. And it's kind of interesting. I have a longer view on the movies now where it's like, because, you know, after the first one, it just definitely didn't seem like a sequel was going to get made. And then, you know, the opportunity came years later So, and even after the second one, I had to be talked into writing part three. I was like, it's no way that there's going to be a sequel. It's not going to happen. And Matthew Chouse, the producer, was like, will you please just start writing it? Because I had the treatment. I loved it. But in my mind, I just was like, it's so unlikely that we got the second one made. Are you really going to be able to get this made? And lo and behold, he did. So, I've started working on what, the ideas of what four would be, and I'd love to come back and do it.
Great. I'm sure with that team you could do anything. So it's out on the 18th of December. Is that correct?
18th of December in the US and UK. Yes.
Yeah. Looking forward to watching it again and again. I think before I do watch it, I'm going to go back and watch those first two. But if you do another one, see if you can bring back Alexander somehow. Whether it's been as a cyborg or anything else, we just, I need him back.
Maybe some flashbacks, use a lot of holograms in these movies.
Ooh, there we go. He's done space travel before, so he'll be fine with it. But there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Liam. Really looking forward for you to sharing this film with the world, and I hope we can speak soon one day.
Oh, thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you.